you feel like a buoyancy or a grace because you know that you're okay.
Yeah. Seeing and touching and hearing and feeling God most closely. And then as you get up into your day, do you need to worry, or can you take these 20 minutes to give yourself the space and consideration to just be grateful and to order your day and to set your state, set your mind, infuse your mind in the way that you want to nurture it, infuse your spirit the way you want to nurture it or want it to be nurtured. And then you can get down to the laundry list, or literally the laundry. Living is the practice. It's the perfection is in the practice. It's not practice makes perfect.
Hey everyone, let's start healing. I'm Adrienne Murchison, and welcome to episode 129 of the Let's Start Healing podcast. We have more in common than we think, and what we have in common can change the world. I want to invite you to please subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you are listening on. Like this episode and share Let's Start Healing with at least one person you know. Well, I have a wonderful, beautiful conversation and guest today. My guest is Elisa Sterling-Cowan. She lives in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and she is deep. She is deep. She is a wonderful person. She is a self empowerment healing coach. And we get into great conversation about how there is undeniably a divine source that is within us, around us, and greater than us. And that we only need to tap into this to know who we are, to tap into our real power. And so often we ignore this very real thing that we can't see and touch, but we can sense it. We know that it's there. And we have a very wonderful conversation. I am excited about you getting to know her. Something that Elisa brings up is how a lot of people don't want to have that conversation about this divine source within us, around us, and that is so much more powerful than we are. And I certainly find that having this spiritual based podcast, God is so personal. Isn't that true? God is so personal. And a lot of people don't necessarily want to go there. And I love going there. And God is the most personal part of me. Jesus is the most personal part of me. But everyone doesn't have to believe in Jesus or call God, who I call God, God, to be on this podcast and have that conversation. Still, often, spirituality, the word spirituality can be misunderstood, or we all have different definitions of what that word is. For me, it is a relationship with God, it is a relationship with my higher power. That connection, that love, that dynamic is my spirituality. And so I like to talk about that aspect with you and whoever my guest is, talk about that connection that they have, whatever word we use to define that. Uh, some people think religion, and this isn't about structured religion. This is about the love that's inside of us and who put it there. So let's get to the conversation with Elisa. Let's get started and let's start healing. Welcome, Elisa.
Glad to be here with you, Adrienne.
It is wonderful to be here with you. And thank you for letting us do this little do over because I had a technical mishap. Well, we were just talking about a challenge that you have underway right now. I think it's a 5-day challenge that
Yeah.
you are on and others are on. And just share with me what you were just saying. If you could share with me again, this is helping. Uh, you have a techniques to help people become unstuck.
Yes, and I'd like to preface it with this is a part of my own personal practice. I've spent many years, so more than 15 years in the mindset realm and going through personal development. As an entrepreneur, many will know that there's a lot of those personal development seminars that you get to go to that help you to better have a mindset setting you up for your success. And I found that going through those, it was very motivational. It definitely got you on the go. There's a lot of information to apply. And I always felt myself falling back into a lot of old habits, even with all the tools and knowing the things that I should do. I started the challenge for myself, and I'm offering to a handful of people to work with me one on one to get out of them being stuck. So the challenge is called the SOS challenge. So from stuck to out and then to sustainable, having your sustainable success and setting that up for personal foundation so that you always have an ability to pull yourself out of being stuck, work through what it is in what it's like to be out of being stuck, to have that mindset around how it feels to not be in fear about falling into old habits, being your old self, not knowing what to do moving forward. And then from there, it also gives you a safe space and foundation to build your success from. So I find that a lot of people try to move people from stuck to sustainable, but they don't take that time to pause right here in the middle where a lot of that foundational work is happening. So
What are some of the practices that are involved in what you were just sharing?
it's about getting off the hamster wheel of what quote unquote feels like the good idea to do. A lot of the times we want to go with our intuition, which is still there, but if we're in a space of fear, we have to get ourselves out of that space first so that we can then have the clarity in our mind of, okay, how do I want to feel day to day? What are the choices that are going to help me to feel that day to day? And then how can I stand in feeling safe and not in fear going forward, no matter what that looks like? And that involves a bit of journaling, but a lot of really small and simple action steps that a lot of people tend to overlook,
Mhm.
right? So celebrating themselves and um, writing it down and noticing the feelings, really giving themselves space to sit in those feelings. And so that's also in that O space, which is, sorry, developing your habits, your daily habits.
Yeah, and it sounds like that includes being patient with yourself.
Lots of grace, lots of compassion. Patience is more for the journey,
Mhm,
realizing that you're in a process because we're down here
mhm.
and there's a much bigger picture to what's happening. And if we can add more of those little steps
Yeah.
along the way, we're building up our own personal momentum, which helps to kind of, it's almost like getting ready to take flight.
I think it can be hard because I was thinking about myself and this time of year, and it usually takes me, and I'm realizing it now. It usually takes me about 2 weeks or more to really get on the stick. And for me, is to, be fit, and, I'm pretty good with my spiritual practices, but to really, I don't feel right in my body. I've been eating too much for the last, I don't know how many months, definitely 2 to 3 months. I have been just eating all kinds of things I shouldn't eat. And I know that in previous years, it might be the third week in January, the second week in January before I'm really um, consistent with whatever I'm eating, whatever exercise that I'm doing. But so I've been kind of hard on myself, like, God, it's like I take a baby step and then it's like I throw that out the window, and take 5 steps backwards.
But it's that first attempt in learning, right? If
Hmm.
we flip fail into that first attempt of learning, it's a process.
Yeah.
Then we can definitely move ourselves in a way that has that grace, has those. We celebrate babies when they try to take those little steps. We're the same way when we're learning a new thing, or we've been off track for a while, and now it feels like we're learning a new thing again and taking those steps to move forward. So that momentum is key. Also, you said something key about consistency, and I think that's so huge. I know a lot of people have started straight out the gate January 1st, and they're going. And
Yes.
usually that's for a lot of people, they'll do that, but they fall off around the 3-week mark. And so I don't like to start things right off the right off the cusp,
Yes.
partly because my family doesn't really jump on board right away. And I kind of do this as a family thing. So we're definitely more focused on, okay, did we wrap up the holiday and the off season, and then can we get into the on season and keep those steps going for as long as we can in the year.
So tell me about uh, your spirituality a little bit. How would you describe your relationship with God? Do you call God God or
Mhm.
power? Um, how would you describe your knowing of that divine source?
Well, it all started when, and seriously, I used to bother my mom for the deepest and biggest of questions. Like, how is the universe made? How big is the universe? How far is that star from here? Like the big, big picture questions at the age of 3. And I was already reading at that point, and it's part of the whole, well, at the time, it was part of the Caribbean culture. And she's like, just go read the books over there, the encyclopedias. They got me the whole birthday set, which I know they are so thankful. They got me that birthday set
It kept you
of
occupied.
encyclopedias, and I read those in the dictionary. Those were my friends. It was a beautiful experience, but it made me realize the answers to those questions, something has to be bigger to, to fully answer those questions. And then through other surreal and we'll say supernatural kind of experiences that I personally have or that I've seen others in my family have, um, I realized that there's a connection to something that's unseen in this
Mhm,
world
mhm.
and much greater and supportive in our living here than we give gratitude or enough recognition to. And through that, and of course, reading all the books on the shelf, including the Bible, I found that a lot of the answers that I was looking for were in the Bible. And so from there, I got to build my personal relationship with God. God and Jesus. Jesus was my invisible friend as a child. And I know a lot of kids have, I had others, but Jesus was one of them. And it still is to this day. And I'm so grateful for the journey that I've been through with all of it. Because even going into science, even going into a space where I really didn't like humans, because I was experiencing a lot of social clash and discrimination. Um, Even in that space, pulling me back to the space now where I have such celebration for humanity and such advocacy of the greatness that we really are, the gift that we are in and of this earth.
Right.
Um, I find it so amazing how we've been created with such seeds of greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And all we have to do is start trying to nurture them, and everything moves into place to
Yes.
support our growth. It is so beautiful.
I call that willingness, and just being willing and being open.
Right?
And it's so simple, but not simple, and it's simple,
Yeah.
but I think us as human beings, we make it harder because we start believing our thoughts that aren't our real thoughts.
Yeah.
We
And
start
I
believing
think,
stoic thoughts.
and I was just having this conversation with one of my son's friends, is that thoughts are like bubbles. They're floating around, and it's up to us if we're choosing to entertain them or not. And I know the same bubbles are available to everyone who's in the space where I am, but I engage with them differently.
Mhm.
And I know that I have since I was a child because I stood out from the rest. And I think that's the thing that really helped me to stand out with mindset, um, and to having that deep relationship of seeing the bigger picture with God, right? Not just on my own, but knowing that I have this partner in life that's always with me in every moment, including the moment when I want a chocolate brownie. So,
Yes, yes,
and
yeah.
I can have that conversation of, hey, and that's where the deep dive into all the what is this behind this? And it really, in our minds, it feels like it's a forever conversation. And a lot of people don't want to have the conversation, but it's not really happening at the time that we think it's happening. It doesn't take that long. It can
Mhm.
take up to 30 seconds. And in that 30 seconds, it feels like you've gone through a lifetime of questions and conversation.
'Cause there's a knowing.
Yeah.
There's a knowing in that conversation.
Yeah.
That's
And
that's what I
we're,
think that lifetime, that you just mentioned is.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, I know myself, like, I clearly can see the difference in the part of me that lives in that divine place as best I can, that, I'm on that path. I can see, the me on that path. And then I can see what the me looks like that thinks that I can do everything myself and I can control everything myself and I'm in charge. And that person, to me, I don't like who that person would be if I lived like that 100% of the time. Just,
Yeah.
just like, just.
I totally feel that. I remember, and I think it's just over 10 years ago, where I had a conversation with my inner critic. Because every day, 2 to 3 a.m., she started chiming in. And she had this attitude. And of course, she's walking around. She's all slim and cute and wearing the high heels. And she's got her hair all growing out and just doing its thing. And uh, so she's got an aspect of me in this world where I want to be like, but yet she's coming back and criticizing me for not keeping up with or showing up in the way that she would, right? And I don't know how many people struggle with that.
All of us
Maybe it's just me,
know. That
but
I should have, or I should be.
right? The shoulds. And I was like, do you mind? I'm trying to, you know what? Good. I'm up. I'm going to interrupt you and dive into reading my Bible, dive into reading personal development, dive in and read some Bob Proctor, dive in and read about this or that, or do some research. And the more I interrupted her, the silent she became until I, I asked her a question. I said, "What is it that you need? What need am I not meeting?" And she let me know. I need to show up more. I need to be a little more fearless. I need to be a little more courageous. I need to stand up for myself. I need to take care of myself. I need to love myself more.
Mhm.
And this is with having a relationship with God. This is not outside of, it's like me taking care of myself, and then there's this higher part, and then there's her and all the other characters. It's all of this working together to have me living my best and highest life.
Yes.
And so that was the part where she was saying, the part that I was responsible for, I wasn't quite stepping up to the plate. And so as
That
much as she's still kind of the critic, I said, well, you don't get to stick around if you go and keep cutting in on me. And if you keep cutting in on me, I'm going to feel like how you're describing me to to not show up, right?
yeah.
I was like, if you're going to be here, I want you to be my advocate. You get to ride in the passenger seat. Don't touch my music dial. You don't get to touch the steering wheel. I'll be driving, but I'll listen to you talk, and then we can have conversation. And I just put her in her right place so she can kind of give me the nudge, you know. I'll hear the chiming in. Hey, you should be doing. Okay, okay, okay. I hear this, but what's the deeper picture here? What's the thing I'm really missing out on?
Yeah, I wonder if even though she's your inner critic and that's how you
Mhm.
describe her, I wonder if a part of her is your higher conscious, a
Yeah,
high level of consciousness because it's a part of you that has this knowing of this would benefit me to do this and to do that. And it's really, expressing love to you, like you are
yeah.
love and trying to show you who you are. So that's why I'm wondering if a part of her, even though she's called your inner critic, is actually on a higher level.
And that's how I feel about everyone who call their ego the part that they want to kill or shut down or don't like. That's
Mhm.
how I see that for them as well. There's
Mhm.
always a clue in those aspects of ourself, because it is an aspect of ourself in wholeness.
Yeah.
So my thing is bringing people into living their fullest life,
Yes.
embracing themselves in wholeness and all those parts, even if we feel like we don't like it.
Yes.
Those parts are helping us to exist here, to
Mhm.
still be in this physical space, and to protect us as best they can. Some of them are a lot more dense than others.
Mhm.
She was a little higher up, a little more on herself.
We were both in Lisa Nichols' motivational speaking program,
Yeah,
and I've seen part of your story of your journey and during your pregnancy
yeah,
and pregnancies,
yeah,
right? And I wonder if you could share a little of that and how you came through that.
absolutely. Um, I get the gift of being a oh, as happily married wife of 25 years, almost 25 years, and a mother of two, as you said, two young men. And I'm so proud of the people that they are becoming, in the process of becoming. And the journey to get to those two has been uh, defining for myself, for my marriage, and how I parent. Um, I remember uh, when our youngest was born, or I guess more so waking up to the face of my youngest, because I had died and come back. And all because people didn't want to listen to the journey that we were having.
Mhm.
We ended up with a new OBGYN once we discovered that we were still pregnant. We had a miscarriage a few months beforehand.
Now, were you
For
pregnant with twins?
yeah, so I had been. It was a fraternal twin pregnancy, and we had lost one, and realized because our doctor at the time told us to take a break because we had been through about 7 miscarriages before that.
Well, let me ask you one question so I make sure I understand. When you had the miscarriage with your one son, did you know you were pregnant with twins, or did you think
No,
you
we
thought?
thought we were done. We thought, oh my gosh, this is number, yeah, so that would have been number 7 for us, 7th pregnancy.
And that pregnancy, were you pregnant with twins and you thought you were pregnant with one child, or you were just pregnant with
Yeah,
one child?
yeah, we just knew we were pregnant, period. We didn't realize it was 1 or 2 or anything. It was early on that the miscarriage happened, and our doctor confirmed it with test that we were had a miscarriage, and so he said, "Well, take a break." Um, so we were on a break. We weren't doing anything, and then just over a month later, I was like, "I feel like something's off." Went snowboarding. Really felt like something was off. I shouldn't have been snowboarding, and went and had myself tested, and we were pregnant. So we were still pregnant from months before. So we went in to get that checked. They the technicians were like, "Okay, well it looks like about 5 weeks." And I go, "Nope. It's not 5 weeks. This was when they were conceived because we were in the process of, yeah, building a family, and we knew the date."
I understand.
And what they were trying to say was the date was not the date because we hadn't. And the doctor, she set it out about a month later than what I had told her. And from there, the development, the growth, everyone's like, "Wow, you're really big." I go, "Because I'm a lot further along than what people are thinking I am." And I knew that is because we were pregnant. My body was still feeling pregnant for twins. So he had lots of room to swim around. He was all over the place, and he grew to be a really big baby. He was almost 10 pounds. And that was almost 3 pounds bigger than our first son.
Oh, so
So
this is your 18-year-old who was a
that,
twin.
yes,
Okay. Goodness.
yeah. So when I was in contractions, November 11th, I was monitoring them, touch base with my doctor. She's like, "Sounds like you're in labor." I had all the signs. We went into the hospital. They confirmed it was active labor. I was dilated, etc. I was there for 5 hours. Things were progressing, hooked up to all the machines. And then something felt like it stopped. Like, not the contractions necessarily, but like he went back up. And then about an hour later, the contractions stopped. They're like, "Oh, sorry, false. And we're going to send you home." And I was like, "No, this is his time to come out. Take him out." I was like, "We don't come this far and not take, like, let's get the process finished." And they're like, "No, sorry, we're going to send you home." And I just started expanding, huge. Couldn't sit, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. 2 weeks later, I was like, Wednesday or Friday? Let's get him out. Didn't know it was a boy or a girl, but um, went to drop off our son. And then as I got out of the vehicle from my parents' place, my water broke. And my husband's there like, don't be bright red, don't be bright red, don't be bright red. Because we knew, because we've those 2 weeks, it could be a complication. And it was bright red. And he put me back in the vehicle. And then when I got out at the hospital, every step I was taking, I was gushing.
Oh, my
I was
goodness.
bleeding to death on the way to the table, on the way to the bed to strap me in to like, and then I was out and yeah, died, came back and had a beautiful baby boy.
And did they do a
Yeah.
C-section, or and that was while you were unconscious? Or
Yes.
wow, and then literally you literally died, like you
Yeah, I died on the table, partly because I'm hypersensitive or allergic to anesthetics. But as well, I probably had bled to death. So I had lines infusing me with liquid, and yeah, it
goodness.
was a
How long were you
journey. Hmm?
how long until you regained consciousness?
I don't know. I don't know.
But I mean, it was that day, or it was
Yeah, no, it was that day.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just, and prior to that, you had had 7 pregnancies prior to?
One of which was my other son,
Your
my
oldest?
older son, and
Yeah,
then there was a miscarriage before him. So
yeah. Were those twins, or he's not a twin, obviously, your 24-year-old?
no,
Yeah.
no, my 20-year-old, he's good. Yeah,
How I'm saying 24, is he 20 or
he's
24?
20.
He's 20.
Hey, are you 24? I can ask him.
How
He's mature.
how do you, I mean, there's just all kinds of emotions.
Yeah.
I've lost a child that was a part of this pregnancy.
I surrendered the idea because in the beginning, we were considered low possibility for pregnancies. I because of the thyroid issues. My husband's hypo, I'm hyper. We had about 25% chance. My family has a history of miscarriages as well. And so out of 9 pregnancies,
Mhm.
we got 2 kids, which would have been 10, but so you think, 2 out of 10, it's
Yeah,
the math is there, right? So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
amazing. And so, um, is this experience that you've been through, is this, a part of the calling that you feel to help others? D Is this
Mm. To accept the fullness in life, yes.
really?
Um, and really to celebrate life. Like, I'm such a life advocate now,
Mhm,
especially among humanity. I
mm,
I sit here right now and I'm humbled
mhm.
because of the level of disdain, apathy that I had before.
Really?
I based on the abuses and discrimination that I went through, it's
Mm.
quite it was quite severe. It was yeah, it was annoying.
Was this as a during childhood and teenage
It
years,
was during childhood, yes. So
racism in school?
racism in school, racism in the community, not necessarily being accepted in my family. There was a bit of dysfunction there. And so there was so many things that just felt like they were against me.
Mhm,
Probably what strengthened my relationship with God as well. So God, children, and animals
mm,
were what I related to. what communicated with.
Yeah. Eh,
Aside from that, nah, I wasn't a big fan.
Now, is this so the empathy for other people, is this as
Yeah.
of the love for your children,
Mm.
that you came through this? What do you think the shift was through the experience that you had?
I actually did in the beginning. So when I was baptized and became Christian, over 20 years ago now, I prayed to have more compassion for people. And God brought me through that. Watch how you pray, people. So we get to learn, and God loves to bring us through those
I was just
learning moments so
you gave
that
me
we can
opportunities.
embrace it with such gratitude and awe and wonder, surprise, awareness. Like that level of expansion is so huge when we're brought to the lesson instead of just asking for it and it's given into us. Like I have this whole study devo that I share with the boys around Solomon. As like that's why he went through Ecclesiastes is because it was just put into him. He didn't really get to experience it to get the wisdom. So it's even different for him through the things that he went through. It's not the same as us having gone through it because he already had that foreknowledge. It just doesn't give it the same verb. Can't even imagine what that was like. I can partly imagine what that was like. That's a whole other journey though.
I believe that,
Yeah.
we can take the hard road or the easy road. And we
Yeah.
and really what I believe
And
and
we don't know which one's the easy road, to tell you the truth. We think something's easy. We
yeah,
think something's easier. And technically, the hard road that we think that it was much harder to go through what we thought was easy. And it'll always be that way. It takes more physical energy. It takes more mental energy. It takes more emotional and spiritual energy to choose easy than it does hard because we have to give over a part of ourselves. We have to trust into something else. We have to lean into support when something's hard.
Mhm, mhm.
We are carried and supported through
Well,
hard.
see,
Easy is all us.
I think that you released hard when you asked God to help you have more compassion, because I feel that
Mm,
when we have, um when there's a lot of, I'm not talking about you right now, I'm talking in general.
mhm.
I feel when there's like disdain or hate in the
Yeah,
world, towards another, that it's that will wear itself out. Like, that takes energy that we don't even realize. It takes energy
exactly.
that cannot sustain itself. And so asking for some relief from that, asking for compassion
Yeah,
is making it easier on ourselves and letting go. So I think that is it. That is me when I say something like that. That is me choosing the easier road, because it is easier to love than to hate. I choose to, because I'm thinking about somebody specifically in my mind right now. I
yeah,
choose to, and I have a lot of compassion around this person, but at the same time, I can choose to um, not want to have compassion around this person. You
yeah,
know, and that takes more effort for me when I do that, because,
yeah.
I'm a naturally I naturally want to feel compassion towards you.
If we knew the things that were so innately imbued in us, we we have empathetic neurons. We are designed for empathy. We are designed for grace. We are designed for compassion. We are designed to look at the world with awe and wonder. We can see it in the development of children, in the play of children. We can see it in the joy and play in animals. Animals even have it. and we don't allow ourselves to have the ease of that journey, of our natural, innate journey, it makes no sense. So when we think that we're trying to create our feelings or create our experiences in relationships, which in sense we do, but that's more through the choices and the choices of what we want for our lives. We have to know that. We have
Yeah.
to know, and it gets back to, how do we want to feel? What kind of life do we want to live? What kind of interactions and relationships do we want to have? And if we're not giving in to allowing ourselves to just sit still and feel that and hear that knowing that you're talking about, talk back to us and say, you know what, this is actually what would feel good. And even maybe it's not the full picture, it's going to help us to get to the part of the picture of where you come in, where you've become that person that now we can live it more fully, right? So
When do you most feel that feeling, that that spirit of God and that communication? Is it at a is it at 4 in the morning, or is it, on a beautiful day when you're outside or laughing with one of your boys? Is there a time when you feel that knowing and exchange of communication?
those moments are all great. It's also in the moment that I realized that my power steering line blew up this morning. And I'm sitting there and I'm driving and I go to turn and I'm like, that wheel ain't turning. And I'm laughing. Why am I laughing? Why am I smiling? Because I've been here. I've been here before. I know that I can't even get upset. I just need to get out of the car, look underneath. Is something leaking? Yes. Is this the weather that something can leak? No. So we've got something wrong.
Yeah.
Do I have support to help me to get home? Yeah. Can I even just mention it to my husband who's mechanically inclined and he can tell me what to do, which is what I did. And yeah, I managed to drive it home. I could have got towed. There's so much support. It's a car. Is it a car that I'm attached to? It's a car. It's a vehicle. We've gone through so many vehicles. I'm so grateful that we've gone through so many vehicles because I have no attachment
Yeah.
to vehicles or, prestige or whatever. We've gone through, luxury high-end V8 superpowered vehicle to well, I'm not going to say the one we have now is so low grade, but we had one where we were welding on the bottom so that we had somewhere to put our feet to put the, pedal to the metal. But there was no metal, so we had to put the metal in there. We've it was we know what it is to be in want, and we know what it is to have. And in the middle of all of that is living, and it feels so good.
That's beautiful. I get that. I feel like I experienced that today. I know exactly what you mean.
Mhm.
It's like you feel like a buoyancy or a grace because you know that you're okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I completely understand. And do you have a spiritual practice? Do you meditate daily or pray? Like, do you have take that time for yourself to communicate with
I do.
God?
So innately, I wake up and I just feel into that waking space. If more people just give themselves that sense of pause to notice that right in that space as they're opening their eyes, they're nice and close to seeing and touching and hearing and feeling God most closely. And then as you get up into your day, do you need to worry, or can you take these 20 minutes to give yourself the space and consideration to just be grateful and to order your day and to set your state, set your mind, infuse your mind in the way that you want to nurture it, infuse your spirit the way you want to nurture it or want it to be nurtured. And then you can get down to the laundry list, or literally the laundry, and go through the process of the mundane and the living and the eating and the choices and the emotions, and going through all of those things and realizing that's all a part of your practice. Living is the practice. It's the perfection is in the practice. It's not practice makes perfect. So for me, it's a waking experience. I'll have slumps in my day and it's like, whew, feel tired. Ooh, that tired feeling. I might take a nap. I might have to sit back and meditate, ground myself, or just to get into something that's awe-inspiring. Um, Again, it just helps to kind of gives me that little bubble, that infusion. And then maybe it's going to come up into this whole dilemma about figuring out what to eat and all the fun stuff, movement, go for
Right.
a walk, get the body flowing, get things flowing. When we get liquid stuff moving through our body, that helps everything else to kind of flow. So yeah, we're that physical representation as well of the things that are going on at the emotional and mental and intellectual and spiritual level as well. So all of it's kind of integrated for us to experience, to witness, to appreciate.
I really love this conversation. I appreciate
Mhm.
you being on Let's Start Healing. And if people want to get in touch with you, is there any way that they can connect with you on social media or a website?
Absolutely through social media. And the reason why I'm still launching through social media is because you get to have conversation, you get to connect, you get to see what I'm about. You can lurch and dig and see what's going on in my life. And I think that's a much better way to really connect with someone and see if they're a right fit for you to connect with. If you like what I've said, again, my name's Elisa Sterling-Cowan. I am Elisa SC at Instagram. That's my handle there. It's also on TikTok, but I'm not there as often. The conversations aren't really set up to be on there. So Instagram, Facebook, those
Yes.
are probably the best ways to get a hold of me.
And your Instagram handle is on your Facebook page.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Adrienne. This is a great conversation. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Remember, you can listen to Let's Start Healing wherever you get your podcasts. That includes Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Until next time, let's start healing.